Welcome to Prescribing Lifestyle, the podcast that's all about empowering you to live your healthiest, happiest life. I'm your host, Dr. Avi Charlton, and each week we'll dive into the latest research, practical tips, and inspiring stories to help you optimize your well-being. From nutrition and fitness to mental health and mindfulness, we'll explore every aspect of lifestyle medicine, giving you the tools you need to make informed decisions and take control of your health. Whether you're looking into preventing disease, managing chronic conditions, or simply elevate your quality of life, Prescribing Lifestyle is here to guide you on your journey to wellness. So, sit back, relax, and get ready to embark on this transformative adventure towards a healthier, happier you. Let's dive in. Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Prescribing Lifestyle. Today I have a couple of beautiful ladies from Liviwellness.com.au. It's Linda McNair and Vicki Horan. So they are a couple of health coaches. They belong to Sydney and they concentrate on looking after women over 50 who hate stubborn belly fat. They help people with eating better and looking after the well-being for women over 50. Welcome, Vicki and Linda. Thanks for coming on to Prescribing Lifestyle.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Dr. Avi. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll get each of you to introduce yourself. How did you get into this journey?
Okay, so my journey started quite a few years ago because I was one of those ladies that always struggled with weight. I would yo-yo diet through life. I used to follow the food pyramid and I thought I ate quite healthy compared to some other people, lots of fruit, lots of whole grains, lots of, I suppose, carbs, good, so-called that we would think were good carbs, but not necessarily. So I struggled big time. And when I hit about 45, going into that change of life, which, you don't really even think about when you're 45, I started to, put weight on, even if I starved myself. And I started also getting very sick. So I couldn't work out why I was getting sick. I went to a few doctors. They couldn't help me. And I eventually just got so fed up of going to doctors and specialists and paying lots of money and walking out without an answer, without, if I got this way, what am I doing wrong? Something I must be doing wrong. And my body's very sensitive and I didn't want to take all these medications they were telling me to take. Mm-hmm. So I decided to go on a journey myself and I went down a path of exploring alternative methods, traditional methods, going to lots of classes and eventually training with a nutrition college. Mm-hmm. And learning all these, it was sort of maybe step by step for me, learning how to put all these things together and slowly, I got better. My weight, I've been able to manage my weight for well over probably 15 years now. Mm-hmm. And I met Vicki at the nutrition college that we studied at in New York. And we both gelled because, we started talking about women our age and what was happening and how nobody was helping them. And that's how we decided to come together to help women who struggle, especially with this belly fat that they can't seem to get rid of. And we decided to come together and try and bring some knowledge of this to the women of, in menopausal years.
Yeah, that's great. That's amazing.
Well, my story's a little bit different. Unlike Linda, I didn't have any weight issues when I was young. I'd never yo-yo dieted, never really thought about it. But I had a very, very sweet tooth, which didn't really impact on my weight at all until I started to get to around that perimenopause age and noticed that it was starting to creep, and I'd never had to deal with that before. But the other thing I was dealing with at the same time was these sinus infections that I'd been getting since I was young. And I could never, ever get a cold that was just a cold. It would always go into a long drawn out sinus infection that was really hard to get rid of.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I've been going to the same GP for a long time, and she just said to me, well, that's sort of your lot in life, you know. You're going to be on regular antibiotics and nasal sprays for the rest of your life. So on this particular occasion, I'd had a particularly nasty infection, which was on the end of my third course of antibiotics, and it still hadn't completely resolved. And it was a day that I wasn't working. I was at home. I was cleaning the house. I had the TV on. And this American doctor came onto one of the morning shows. And they said, coming up after the ad break, Dr. So-and-so is going to talk about sugar addiction. And I didn't want to hear it because I loved my sugar.
Mm.
Anyway, Dr. So-and-so came on and he talked about all the impacts of sugar, and he actually talked about chronic sinus infections. It was like he was talking out of the TV to me. And I had like this epiphany in the lounge room. So I actually went cold turkey that day. I went to the local bookstore and I bought a book written by an Australian because I downloaded his book, but it was all American. I couldn't work out, you know, some of the products and all that.
Yeah.
So I went and bought a book written by an Australian, and I read it within 48 hours. I'd read the whole book. My children thought I'd had some sort of an attack because I had never let an ounce of fat pass my lips when they were growing up. I was into the low fat thing. Yeah. And here I was suddenly eating fat. I was eating lots of avocados. I was eating lots of nuts. Mm-hmm. And my eldest daughter said to me, Mum, you need to go and buy a set of scales so you can keep track of how much weight you're going to put on.
Yeah.
And I have to say the weight fell off me. I lost 13 kilos, which I've never put back on, and that was 12 years ago.
And you didn't need to lose weight anyway, was it?
Well, I wasn't obese, but as I said, I could see the creep starting to happen, and there was a photo from my son's engagement party where I was horrified at how I looked.
Okay.
But the other thing that happened was my sinus infections. In 12 years, I've never had another sinus infection.
Wow, that's
and
amazing.
I'd gone from having multiple a year to they've never come back. I've never had another one at all.
Well done. That's amazing. That's great. You looked into it.
Yeah, well, it kind of got me. Like, whereas Linda went and did her research, I didn't do that because I didn't even comprehend that changing what I ate made it so that I could take charge of my own health. And I've got to say that I felt like I'd been liberated that day when I realised that perhaps I could manage my own health, or largely manage my own health myself.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to my kids, even if I just got 1 or 2 infections a year, I'd be happy with that. But I've had none, so.
Amazing. That is quite a self-empowering.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
So much.
That everyone can take charge of their own health just by looking into
Yep.
more knowledge and changing our lifestyle. We can all get healthier.
Yep, for sure.
Great. And how did you meet in nutrition course in New York, was it?
Yeah, it was an online course.
Okay. All right.
So we did it online, and they recommended that we get a study buddy. And because it was international and online, they said, you know, you pick anyone from anywhere in the world because it doesn't matter. It's all online. And Linda actually reached out to me, and we realised we only live 1 hour apart in Sydney. Okay. And we met up for lunch, and yeah, we just hit it off, and we're so aligned with the mission of what we're doing.
Yeah.
We might not agree over a particular font sometimes.
Okay.
but beyond that, you know, we were just so aligned, and it was just meant to be.
And I think we both enjoyed this. We both joined this course because it wasn't the norm. It was they studied different things. So it was integrative with, what you talk about, lifestyle as well as food and exercise. So somehow we both gravitated to that because we didn't know each other before that.
No.
Because I tried to go down the path of being a nutritionist, and they said that I would have to follow certain guidelines. And I didn't agree with them because what I'd learnt and what I've applied to my own life. So that's what attracted me to this course. And it was a 12-month course, and it was quite intense.
It was great. We loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, that is great. And then, so how long ago is this? And you've become health coaches since then, is it?
I think it's about 6 years, 6 or 7
Yep.
years.
Yeah. And we were doing sort of, one-on-one health coaching with clients, but we sort of, as you probably know, it's quite mentally hard work when
quite
you just
intensive, yeah.
Yeah, and time consuming. So we wanted to reach more people. And when COVID come, we thought, oh, let's, maybe put an online course together where hopefully we can reach more women and just spread the message that we're trying to tell.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, tell us about the online course. What do you offer?
Do you want me to go?
Yeah, Vicki, you go.
So we've got a few things that we offer. We offer the opportunity. Well, we've got a webinar that people can watch that will give an overview of what we do. And from that, they can link in and we'll have a free phone call with them. So we can have a chat to them about their particular problems specifically. For our clients that we've got enrolled in our program, we do weekly group coaching. So tonight we'll have a session that's starting at 7:30, and we have an hour with them every week so they can talk about problems they've had, successes they've had. We also most weeks do a little training on something. It might be on, a vitamin or benefits of sunlight or a particular gluten or something like that. So we often do that, and they've got the opportunity to go back and, watch that again, or if they've missed coming to the session, they can rewatch it. We've also got a private Facebook group. So we post in that regularly. We've got a 14-day challenge going at the moment so that it's kind of spring into September. Just little daily tips that we give. So we've got a tip sheet, and then each day we're doing a little video just to remind them what the daily tip is. So we try as hard as we can to really look after them because, a lot of women when they're in their 50s sometimes feel a bit unheard and invisible. And sometimes it's good for them to have a space where they can, look for some support. And especially if they're doing something like this is outside the norm, they might not be supported by other family members or friends. So we try and, be there for them.
And I think the biggest thing is that support, because everybody can go on a diet and lose weight.
Yeah.
But it's actually, dialing in somewhere each week to keep them on track. And we do that for a minimum of 6 months because we know that, if you go on a holiday or you're sick or you've got family issues, it's quite easy to get out of your routine of good eating and exercise, and then you just think, oh, I can't be bothered. And so
it's all too hard.
Yeah, so this is where that we can help them get back on track. And because what we want to teach women is for lifestyle. It's a lifestyle forever. It's basically till they, leave the planet. Because if they can follow this, and what we teach them is quite easy, to follow it and, go into their older years healthy and with not sore joints and aching joints and going to doctors, surgeries for multiple medications. And, once you start taking those and feeling down within yourself. So we try and offer that. And the other thing I think we pride ourselves in is that Vicki and I are constantly, listening to people like you and to anyone that brings out a new book. We try and read it to really keep up with not the fads, but the science behind what our body's actually doing and what we need to give it to lose weight and to stay healthy. That's, I think, one of the biggest things that we do as well.
Yeah, that is great. That's awesome. So how do people join your group? Is it a subscription or is it 6 months or 12-month program?
Well, we have, first of all, we like to do a call with them, like a 45-minute free call, because basically if their mindset isn't ready to change,
no matter
Yeah, we can't
Yes.
help them. No matter what we say
Yeah.
or do, we can't help them. So we like to just have a chat with them to make sure they're ready to come into our group, because we put a lot of time and effort in it, and we want those women to be successful and
Yeah.
for this to last a lifetime, as I said. So they can go to our website, which is liviwellness.com.au.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
that's LIVI wellness.com.au, and we have a section there, a button there where they can actually book a time with us. We've got a little webinar they can watch first if they want to watch the webinar, and if they book a time with us, there's absolutely no pressure. We can talk with them for 45 minutes, probably give them a few tips, and we'll also tell them if they're not ready, maybe come back when they are ready. So, it's a great opportunity for women to have a little chat with us.
So along with the weekly coaching that we do, we also have 9 weeks of modules. So each week a module will drop. So they'll start off, and the first module we do is mindset, because as Linda said, mindset is absolutely the biggest hurdle to this. It's about firstly being prepared to change, and secondly accepting that the things they've been doing all of their life aren't necessarily what they should be doing. So we do 9 modules, which the first part is around food. It's 2 modules on sugar. We do one on healthy fats. We do one on protein, and then we get into the lifestyle things. So it will cover the whole gamut of what we're teaching, and then the weekly coaching is an add-on to that, so that they can come back if they've got a question about one of the modules, or as I said, a concern, or we celebrate successes. We've organised a Christmas lunch. We're going out for lunch. So the social contact is really important too, because loneliness is such a problem. Is vital that you counteract it, particularly as you get older, because it can be so debilitating to your health. So we've got the learning modules, we've got the support group, we've got the Facebook group, and the Facebook group we're pretty much reachable any day of the week. If someone asks a question or has a problem, then one of us will get back to them.
Yeah,
and
that's great.
And I think one of the other things is that I just gone blank at that. I had it there. Maybe need some more fat. It'll come back to me. It'll come back.
Talk amongst yourselves.
I just realized Livy is Linda and Vicki Wellness.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes,
that's
very
how we
good.
came up with it. Yes.
Yeah, so people can remember Livy, Linda and Vicki.
We agonised for a long time over that name, and then it just sort of came to us.
Yeah. Oh, I know what I was gonna say now. Sorry. What we love, what we've added into our modules is a lot of lifestyle factors. And this is what I learned when I went on my alternative path. So as you mentioned, we look at stress, we look at the gut, we look at things like essential oil, we look at things like earthing and grounding, and being out in nature. Eliminating or getting rid of some of or disconnecting with technology occasionally, fasting as well, because all these things integrate with your lifestyle, and breathing as you know. So all these things integrate, and I think a lot of wellness people and nutritionists out there, they just solely focus on food and exercise. And even with exercise, we have a different approach, because we realize women over 50, what we've learned is that we have to not put our body into stress mode, because we need to move, we need to have activity, but we've got to, slow down on those. If you go to the gym and you really beat it out because you think that exercise is going to burn up all those calories and help you lose weight, because once we lose our estrogen, as you would know, that we only have a little bit coming from the adrenal glands. So if we're stressing ourselves out with this hardcore exercise, it's going to put us into stress mode. And guess what? That holds on to belly fat, and we don't want that. So we try and encourage, as you would know too, that, they've got to do some form of resistance training, some sort of
Yes.
weight bearing exercise to keep your muscles strong, because once that estrogen goes, oh my goodness, it's like, what happened to my body? What happened to
Yes.
my body? The muscles go, and you look at your saggy skin. What happened? And so
Who
if
is
you
that
don't
woman in the mirror?
if you don't take really good action to, maybe do some weights, and that could be as simple as, doing it at home with squats and
Yeah.
push-ups on your bench, or, I do an online class, which is I download it and watch it on my big telly, and they're physiotherapists, they guide me what to do. So that's really important. I think a lot of women don't realize this need to keep moving, because it can be like I suppose a domino effect, because we lose the muscle mass. We sort of, I don't have the energy or the strength to play tennis anymore, ride my bike, and it gets lower and lower and lower. And then they can't even open lids on a jar. So
I've never liked exercise. I avoided it right from when I was a child. And I have to say, when I lost all my weight and cured my sinuses, I was doing nothing. But I now understand the importance of it. So I've actually discovered aquarobics, which I'm really enjoying, because there's lots of resistance and a bit of aerobics in there, and just constant movement. So that's been my little thing that I found. And I also do Tai Chi, which is good for balance, and it's good for your memory, because you've got to remember all the steps and the form. So they're my two little things that I found. So I think if you don't like exercise, like me, just keep looking until you find something that you do enjoy, because if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to do it.
Yeah,
I tried, yoga and, Pilates, and I didn't like any of them. So it wasn't going to be long lasting because I didn't like it. But find something that you like, and walking's great, but you need to do more than that. As Linda said, you've got to do some strength and resistance.
Yeah, walking is good, but it's not really building muscles.
No.
And it's not really cardio as well.
Unless you throw in some stairs, or do a little sprint to the next light pole or something like that. I try and sort of do a few of those just to get my heart rate up.
And I find for me the commitment of going to a class, because I live on my own, so I don't have anyone to sort of do it with or encourage me to do it. But the fact that I have to get out and get in the car and drive to the class, I need that to make sure it gets done.
Or to pay for your classes up front. I find that's a motivation as well.
I pay for mine monthly.
Okay, great idea.
And if I had a pool in the backyard, I wouldn't do in that what I do at the class. I just wouldn't.
Yeah, I love that you all talk about the lifestyle and not just nutrition, about
it's
lots
all
of other
important.
Things. Absolutely. Yeah. Tell us some of the good stories or amazing stories of clients that you've coached and how they've improved their health. Can you give us some example?
You want to go, Vicki?
Okay. I'm going to talk about a client that we had. She was a nurse, and she developed breast cancer. So she had to have a mastectomy. And following the mastectomy, she needed to be on a particular drug for the following 5 years. That was part of her recovery regime. So unfortunately, the drug that she was on, one of the side effects was severe muscle pain, and it was really bothering her. It was keeping her awake at night, and she was feeling quite down about it, because when you're constantly in pain, it's not a lot of fun. So she'd been really haphazard with what she was eating. So she was piling on the weight, and she was also suffering greatly with this muscle pain. So I had a chat with her. She was one of my one-on-one clients when we first started, and then she came into the program. And we went down the low carb, get rid of rubbish food, get rid of sugar. And it happened so quickly. Within 2 weeks, her pain had gone from an 8 or 9 out of 10 to a 2 out of 10. A lot of the time it was a 0 out of 10. So she was absolutely stoked. And then over time, she lost 17 kilos. obviously she didn't lose all that weight in 2 weeks, but over probably 3 months, she'd really lost a lot of weight. She felt better. She was pain-free, but she was still taking the medication that she needed to take post-breast cancer.
So it might not be the medication.
Well, who knows? That's right. Who knows?
Maybe
But
it's
yeah, she
inflammation.
felt better. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
And one of the other examples, which could happen to a lot of women actually, once they go into menopause, things don't work the same. And so we had one client, and she wasn't particularly a good eater, but she could get away with eating, maybe hot chips and Coke. And then when she wanted to lose a few kilos because she was going to a wedding or, a reunion, she'd just go on a bit of a, lettuce diet basically, and the weight would fall off. But once she sort of got in closer to 50, that didn't work for her anymore. And she couldn't work out why, what changed. I'm doing what I always did, and it just didn't work. And, she started putting on the rolls of fat up on the visceral fat up on the upper belly, just under the bust, and she couldn't shift it. And the more she starved herself and ate salads, the more it seemed to grow. What we did again was get her to eat, but eat the right foods. So, get off the carby foods, but start introducing, which we had to do slowly because she started starving herself, which wasn't real good. And slowly introduce more foods to her, but the good foods, so the good proteins and the good fats and, and a bit of fiber in there, because once we did that, and to teach her to eat just 3 meals a day, because she was eating about 6 more meals.
Yes.
And as you know, when you start using a glucose monitor, it's raising your blood sugar level all day long.
Constantly.
Before she was constantly hungry, like looking for other foods. So over that time, yes, she did. It took her probably a couple of months, but she lost those kilos. She wasn't a big person, so she didn't have much to lose. She only needed to lose about 10 kilos, and she got back to her weight. But one of the big things that happened to her was she always had a bad back. And when she lost this extra weight that she'd put on and was eating in a better, healthy way, that pain reduced dramatically.
Great.
And that was a great thing. So, now she's sort of down to her normal weight, and she's very active. So she loved wearing super pretty tight clothes. She was that sort of person. So she can, when she had that weight on her, her whole personality changed, because she was actually wearing baggy clothes, and it actually made her look bigger than what she was. But it wasn't her. If you knew her, it wasn't her personality. It wasn't her. She was covering up. And then once she lost the weight, she sort of became herself again and started to enjoy life and got her energy back. The pain was less, and, she got an enjoying a life. So that's just another little example.
And probably the third one was a lady that we had who'd been on the big side for most of her life, and she decided she was going to go on a health kick, and she was going to get really fit, and she was going to lose a lot of weight. So she started getting up an hour early and doing really strenuous exercise for probably an hour every morning. But it actually had the opposite effect. She actually started putting on weight rather than losing it, and couldn't understand, because all our lives at our age, it's been drummed into us. The harder you work in the gym, calories in, calories out thing again, the more you're going to lose. So we changed her eating habits and introduced her to gentle exercise, and she lost weight.
Oh, wow. Amazing. Yeah, I have lots of patients that resonates to those stories.
I'm sure you would. Yeah.
Yeah, and those that yo-yo diet, which can be quite detrimental. They lose a little bit and then they gain even more.
Yes, that's what used to happen to me, and I would just lose it. I'd go on the latest fad diet. I'd lose it, and then you sort of think, oh, I go back now to eating how I was. And of course, when you're eating a lot of these processed carbs, they just go bang straight back on your body. And
Yes.
I actually followed back then, many years ago, there was a popular diet, I can't really remember, but the woman who came out and she wrote a book, and it was on, TV and in magazines that we used to get back then, that you cut out everything had to be low fat, and you increased your carbs. And honestly, our whole family, because I've got a picture to prove this, is our whole family, even my 3 children, I followed that, and we all got puffy and chubby.
Chubby.
Yeah, all of us.
Yeah.
And even my kids. So, when I look back at that, I think, I followed this person, I believed them, and yes, it might have worked for her, but it certainly didn't work for my family. And once I've gotten off that bandwagon of now eating low carb, good fats, and a good lifestyle, I haven't had to really worry. And when I, look, we're all going to go on things like cruises or holidays or parties and weddings.
Yep.
If I get off track now, I know how to reset. We know how to reset, because everybody's going to get off track from time to time. But if you can reset, get back on track, and just continue, you won't have very many issues at all heading down, to your 80s and 90s.
That's
Well,
great
my
advice.
guru was Nathan Pritikin. He wrote, a few cookbooks when my kids were young, and he was like the low-fat guru. But I was doing it mainly because I was under the impression and had been told by somebody that fat was the problem for my sinuses.
Oh, okay.
And it was actually, that was not the case at all. And I didn't have any understanding back then of how important healthy fats were and the contribution they made to, hormone production and absorption of vitamin D and all those really important processes that happen in your body.
Yeah.
And that's why my kids were so amazed when I started eating fat, because they had never, ever known me to do that.
Lucky you did.
I know. And I was probably making my sinuses worse by eating so many carbs and sugar. And, well, it set me up with inflammation, which was the problem.
Yeah, I think that was all our biggest problem. I mean, we were taught, you'd look at your thighs and see cellulite and go, oh, fat makes me fat. That's what we were taught.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah. So we cut it right out, and that's when I think a lot of the trouble began. Not only that, but then as we progressed with all sorts of things, we started to get all these foods in packets and to make our life easier. Now, instead of having to make a cake, which, in my day, Mum would just make cakes, just basic cakes. You can now get them in packets and, all these biscuits and
lots of convenience food.
Yeah, lots of processed meals you could eat, and, packets of muesli bars you could take with you, and so many packet foods that we all embrace that, and I feel bad even when I think about it, because, I would pack those things in my kids' lunches,
me too.
Thinking, like a muesli bar and
tiny teddies,
fruit juice pockets and things like that, not knowing what it was actually doing to their body. So we know a lot.
Now, having said all that, we eat really well. We've got, some great recipes. So it's not a life of deprivation at all. We've got, we can make little cookies, slices. We've got a great recipe for like our own version of muesli bars. It's full of all the ingredients in there, as we know what's in there. There's nothing in there that we don't eat. We can make cheesecakes. I've got a great recipe for a lemon tart. So you don't have to miss out. It's just about being willing to adjust.
And change the ingredients you're used to, because you might have been used to using flour, but now we can use maybe almond flour, which is, going to not spike your glucose levels. So
again, it gets back to that capacity to change. If there's no capacity to change and say, well, I've always made Mum's favourite sponge, well, we can't help you.
That's it. Yeah, that is awesome, Linda and Vicki. That's great. So how can my listeners find you?
Okay, they can go to, as I said, our website, which is liviwellness.com.au. So that's Livy, Livi, wellness.com.au. And Livy, as you said, stands for Linda and Vicki.
Yep.
Great. And you've got upcoming spring challenge, did you say?
Yeah, well, we have a spring challenge which already started. But if people go to our Facebook page, which they can click on from our website, they can still join. They can see all the posts and they can, do it at their own leisure, I suppose. Vicki and I are giving a little tip each day that they can add just to get their body back into order, because summer's coming.
Yes.
And, we're going to get in our cozy, and, winter can be a bit challenging because, if it's cold, we might add maybe more potatoes or maybe more, sweet potatoes and pumpkin and all those yummy sort of foods, which we're not saying don't eat, but we might have just added a few too many.
Yes.
Yeah. And so it's just a way to sort of reset, remember what is important. And so it's a great little challenge, and we recommend you check out our Facebook page. And if you need us to send you anything, you can obviously just, message us from there and we can help you with that.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Linda and Vicki. Thank you for coming on to Prescribing Lifestyle.
Thank you, Dr. Harvey. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for all our listeners. Thank you for tuning in. And next time we'll bring you other guests to share about lifestyle. See you next time. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Prescribing Lifestyle Podcast. Before we wrap up, I have an exciting news to share. I have a new ebook called Low Carb Made Easy. It's now available. This guide is perfect for anyone looking to dive into the low carb lifestyle. Inside, you'll find the basic theory behind low carb eating, a detailed food list, practical meal plan, and a variety of delicious recipes. It's designed to make a journey to better health easier, simpler, and enjoyable. For those who prefer a hard copy, head over to my website and register your interest using the link provided. My website is www.mlcclinic.com.au. Head to online store. Remember, the information shared in this podcast, it's for educational purposes only and not proper medical advice. Always consult your medical professional before making any changes to your lifestyle and diet, or you can come and see me in Melbourne Low Carb Clinic. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and stay connected with us on social media. Your feedback will help us improve and reach more listeners. Lastly, if you found this episode helpful, please share it with your friends and family. Together, we can make a positive impact to our health and our communities. Thanks again for listening, and as always, stay healthy and happy. Until next time.